Hey everyone, you're watching Turkish Spotlight Secrets. We've gathered every whisper, every clue, every emotional beat of tonight's breaking story. Before we dive deep, remember to subscribe and share so you never miss anything from us. Thank you for being here. Now, let's talk about the news that set social media ablaze, the claim that Gökberk Yildirim arranged a discreet meeting with Cemre to honor his late mother's final wish. Those who know Gökberk's public persona know this much is true. When it comes to family, he is a man of quiet loyalty. Friends say he has carried a single sentence from his mother for years, a line that returns at the strangest times: follow your heart, and don't let fear write your story. After the grief of losing her, that line reportedly stopped being a memory and started feeling like an instruction. And last night, if the whispers are right, he finally listened. The rendezvous, people say, happened in a tucked-away café on the quieter side of Istanbul, the kind of place where the lights are low and the street outside goes silent early. Staff members, who have not spoken on record but whose hints are already being pieced together by fans, supposedly helped keep everything under wraps. The rumor is that Gökberk and Cemre entered by different doors, were guided past the regular seating and into a small back room with the curtains drawn. 2 hours. No interruptions. 2 cups of coffee that went cold. A phone on silent, face down on the table. A long exhale before the first word. What happened in there? According to those who claim to have been nearby, it wasn't a storm but a slow thaw. At first, Cemre kept a careful distance, her posture composed, eyes steady, voice low. Gökberk spoke quietly, at times tracing a circle on the table with his fingertip as he told stories of his mother, small moments, private details, memories that only have weight when you share them with someone who once knew your day-to-day. Somewhere in the middle of those stories, her gaze reportedly softened. There were a few wet blinks. A small smile. A light tap of her fingers on the rim of her cup. And then they talked, really talked, about the tangle of misread signals, the delays, the noise that had come between them. Witnesses say the conversation swayed between tenderness and laughter, as if the past still had sharp edges but the present offered a cushion. They left, it is said, without ceremony. No hand in hand, no dramatic farewell in the doorway. But there were impressions left behind: 2 chairs pushed close, napkins with little ink marks from a borrowed pen, and the sense that something heavy had shifted. The word among those who claim to know, they parted on warmer terms than anyone expected, the kind of goodbye that carries hope like a secret. Within minutes, the internet was wide awake. One camp: fate is at work, the timing is too poetic to be coincidence. Another camp: don't read romance into it. This could be business, or simply closure. Their official teams have offered nothing, neither confirmation nor denial, which only fuels the guessing game. In the absence of a statement, people stitch their own narratives together, and overnight, a single rumor becomes the language everyone speaks. What makes this moment feel so charged is not just who they are, but why this meeting might have happened. Those close to Gökberk whisper about the words his mother repeated through her illness: don't let unfinished feelings harden inside you, meet them head on, don't postpone your chance at happiness. Grief has its own clock. It slows you down, then suddenly asks you to move. It seems that after her passing, those words sharpened, and he began to confront feelings he had shelved, starting, perhaps, with the one person whose name never really left his narrative, Cemre. The café itself almost felt like a character last night. Soft amber light. Reflections in the window that turned the outside street into a quiet watercolor. Staff who kept their distance, slipping in only to refill water and then vanish like stagehands. There are whispers that the two were guided through different hallways to keep any curious eyes from drawing a straight line. The back room was supposedly prepped in advance, a small vase with a single flower, blinds turned at a slant so shapes could move without faces being recognized. Details like these sound like a movie, but that's the nature of celebrity. Life keeps stepping onto a stage even when no one wants it to. Accounts of the meeting keep circling the same beats. A tender moment when Cemre's eyes shone after Gökberk described something his mother said in the quiet of a hospital corridor: if you love someone, speak it cleanly, don't let pride pretend to protect you. A burst of laughter over an old joke only they would remember, the kind that rolls back the years in a single breath. A soft apology for words delayed. And then a second apology, spoken from the other side of the table. By the end, people say, the tension drained out like water from a clasped hand. So the city woke up buzzing. Will they reconcile? Are we seeing chapter 1 of a return, or the epilogue that brings peace to a story that needed it? Devotion to family is one thing, and respect for a mother's final wishes is another, and when those are the reasons behind a meeting, even skeptics hesitate. Still, not everyone is swept up in romance. Some insist this could be about a project, a script, a mutual friend, anything but a rekindling. And with silence from their inner circles, curiosity becomes the fuel and the fire. This isn't the first time these two have lived inside a rumor. Talk of a long-standing rift has followed Gökberk Yildirim and Cemre Arda like a shadow, nothing anyone ever proved, but a feeling of distance that fans took as fact. Last night's quiet encounter slices through that shadow, not with a headline-grabbing spectacle but with something more intimate and confounding, a private conversation in a hidden room. And the thread tying it together, if the claims are true, is that final wish. In grief, people often make vows. Gökberk's, it seems, was to leave nothing important unsaid. Let's linger on that second message that keeps surfacing, the one his mother is said to have repeated: don't carry unresolved feelings. Face what your heart is trying to tell you. Don't put joy on tomorrow's calendar and call that bravery. Those sentences don't belong to the spotlight, they belong to kitchens and doorways and late-night drives. From what we've heard, those were the words that finally pushed him to send the text, to choose the venue, to walk through a side entrance with a hood up and a breath held. The logistics, in case you missed them, are the kind that make this story feel like it was drawn up with care. Separate arrivals. A reserved back area few customers even know exists. Phones watched by staff to make sure no one snapped anything from the hallway. A meeting that stretched to about 2 hours, not rushed, not endless, but long enough to travel through the necessary rooms of an old house, the front hallway of polite greetings, the kitchen of shared memories, the living room of laughter, and finally the back porch where you watch the night and decide what kind of morning you want. Those who claim to have seen glimpses say there were small tells you can't fake. The way Cemre's shoulders dropped half an inch when she started to trust the conversation. The way Gökberk leaned forward when she looked away, letting silence be a bridge instead of a gap. At one point, he supposedly spoke about the last week of his mother's life and how she had squeezed his hand and told him to be brave with love. At another, Cemre mentioned the pressure of public narratives, how everyone assumes it knows your heart better than you do, and how easy it is to retreat when the crowd starts to chant. And somewhere between those two confessions, something softened. By the time they left, they weren't restored lovers strolling into the night. But they weren't strangers anymore, either. Smiles were spotted. A hand perched on the chair back as if reluctant to go. A nod that looked like it meant till next time, even if next time is undefined. If this is a reconciliation, it's not the sudden kind. It's the kind that unfolds in layers, with room for caution and hope to exist side by side. Online, the split is dramatic. One post reads like a diary entry about faith and timing, another reads like a spreadsheet that lists every reason they could have met for work. Some praise Gökberk's devotion to his mother, calling it a beautiful reason to open a door that had been closed. Others warn against turning grief into a storyline. Either way, no one is looking away. And the fact that neither of them has issued a line of confirmation, not a single clarifying sentence, is only making the noise louder. Silence becomes the statement, and the absence of answers becomes the answer everyone debates. The tabloid cycle is relentless in times like these. A single rumor becomes a wave, the wave becomes a tide, and soon everyone is swimming in the same water. Last night, the tide rolled in fast. The narrative was simple, elegant, and devastating, a son honoring his mother by facing the person who once mattered most, and maybe still does. No one can agree on what it means. But everyone feels the pull of it. It bears repeating how unexpected this was. The industry went to bed assuming the same old distance and woke up to something more intricate. Reports have stacked on top of each other, The rumor of two separate cars, the cafe staff guarding the door with practiced nonchalance, the muffled hum of shared laughter that carried through thin walls, the hush that fell when it was over. Talk to any insider today and you'll hear the same conclusion: something shifted, even if we don't know its direction yet. What we also know is that Gökberk's reputation for protectiveness over his private life has never been a performance. It's a boundary. Which is why the idea that he broke routine, carefully, quietly, purposefully, suggests an urgency. After a loss like the one he suffered, you do inventory on your soul. You find out which doors are locked and which are simply stuck. And from what last night suggests, he decided to oil the hinges. As for Cemre, the depiction of her as cool-headed and poised fits what we've seen in public. But the detail that she was moved by his sincerity, and by those intimate memories of his mother, rings true to anyone who has watched her navigate tough moments with grace. Any version of last night that ends with her leaving in anger does not hold up to the reports we've collected. Instead, the version that keeps coming back is the one where humanity wins, where listening becomes the bridge two people walk across because someone important asked them to be brave. This brings us to the question everyone is asking: is this chapter 1 or the final chapter? Will there be more quiet rooms and careful entries, or was this the necessary conversation that lets both of them breathe easier? There's a certain romance in not knowing. And there's a certain honesty in admitting that even they might not have decided yet. For now, the story lives in that delicate space where hope meets restraint. It will almost certainly dominate the talk shows and the digital headlines for days. Someone will claim to have a new angle. Another will post a blurry photo that proves nothing and means everything. And in the middle of all of it, two people will go on with their lives, one carrying the echo of a mother's voice, the other carrying the memory of how it feels to be truly heard. Whatever comes next, last night has already written itself into the lore of their names: Gökberk Yildirim and Cemre Arda, two faces we know, meeting in the shadows not to ignite a scandal but to honor a promise that could only be kept in the quiet. If fate is involved, it will show its hand in time. If not, then at least a tender wish was fulfilled. That's what we have for you tonight. If this story moved you, or if you're just as curious as we are to see where it leads, make sure you're subscribed to Turkish Spotlight Secrets and share this video with friends who follow every heartbeat of the industry. We'll be here, watching, listening, and bringing you the truth behind the whispers. Until next time, good night from Turkish Spotlight Secrets.